Good evening, everyone. This is my second video tonight. I wanted to do a quick review of Scott Sigler's The Starter. I did a text review, and I remember when this book originally came out, and it was, man, I really enjoyed the Rookie, and this is a follow-up in that series. And I've met Scott on an occasion or two, and so this is coming from an acquaintance, I guess, but I tell you what, Scott is Mr. Sigler is regularly a horror writer, and I am not a horror person. His books Infected and Ancestor, I actually really liked Earthcore, but Infected and Ancestor were just, they were too bloody, they were too gory for me, and just not my cup of tea. The Galactic Football Series is a series that takes place 800 or 900 years in the future of Earth timeline, and it focuses on the GFL, which is a tiered football system, Tier 3, Tier 2, and Tier 1, which is the big tier. And the positions in football, traditional American football, are based on physiology. So you have Scolorno, you have Key, you have Quiff, you have Human, you have Heavy G humans that play in this football league. Quentin Barnes in the first book is from a racist kind of, think of 15th century Catholic, like the Catholic Inquisition, like this kind of religion that's really kind of hate-mongering. Not to say Catholics are hate-mongering, but in 15th century Catholics were pretty hardcore. But this is called the Purist Nation, and he's kind of a racist, and he was raised to believe that all alien races were spawn of Satan. And so the first book covers his rookie season in Tier 2 of the GFL. He'd been playing Tier 3, he gets transferred to Tier 2, and he's trying to lead his team, the Ionath Krakens, to a championship. So the starter picks up where Book 2 leads off. And Book 2 is awesome. So let's talk about the good. The good in this book is the continuation of the series. It's got lots of characters you like, John Tweedy is hilarious. Quentin Barnes, who's the main character, has a great transition. He's growing more. He's becoming more confident. He's a great lead. He's becoming a even better lead. I've got a couple of great things about these books, and not just the starter. Even the starter. We'll focus on the starter. The great thing about the starter is the world building. Scott Sigler can world build as good, if not better, than any writer out there. He is, I can imagine he's got to have a room of just poster boards talking about the Quiff culture and the Scolorno culture and the Quiff leaders and the physiology and the rules and the timeline, and it's all within his succinct world. Infected, which is another book series that was actually picked up by Crown for Scott Sigler, and Ancestor, and even some Earthcore, I believe, are all in his same kind of world timeline, and it's just brilliant. Scott has this amazing innate ability to set a setting of a story. Scott's weaknesses, I think, are his characters. He uses character tropes a lot. He always, like for example, you'll see in a lot of his book, he'll always have a massive human. A massive human who's either some sort of special forces. He's a football player, they're super violent. He has them in all of them. Scott breaks out of this mold in the starter. Somewhat in the rookie, but in the starter he really breaks this mold. He is really able, because the conflict. And there's additional conflict that's added, which is another mark of a good writer, but the conflict is well defined in the starter. You have more of the world building, but the world building is added for later conflict. And I guess I can talk about that a little bit more, but he does a great job of making these characters come into his own. The best I've ever seen him do in any of his books. And I've read a lot of it in his books. This is his creme de la creme. He is taking these characters to a whole nother level. It's just a vast improvement over what he's done in the past. I love the book. The setting is good. The plot is good. There were a couple of plot points and then maybe we'll get to the weaknesses now. There was a couple of plot points that I thought were a little bit out of the blue. Some spoiler alerts here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, turn it off. Quentin Barnes, who's the 7-foot, 400-pound quarterback of the Ionath Krakens, starts this kind of, not vendetta, this kind of gets a bee in his bonnet about his family. I didn't see any of that. At least I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read, but I don't remember seeing any of that in the original, in the Rookie. I thought it was a plot point for plot point's sake. I also thought a little bit of the. Scott introduces a gay character who seems to be made gay just to be made gay. Just because it might bother Quentin. I didn't see any point to it. I thought it was kind of silly. The chapter was pretty funny when it was introduced. Fred for Gonzalez is his name. Yeah, he's a private investigator who's trying to help Quentin find his family. I thought some of the transitions in the book were very jarring. I'm in it, and then all of a sudden I have a physiology discussion, and I understand why he does it, but I found that somewhat jarring. Again, with the football, he does less of the football in this one, and even more in All Pro, which I'll get to here in a minute. He does he does less of the football, I think, than he did in the Rookie. Ultimately, I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read it. But, again, if you don't like football, you may have a hard time getting into these series. If you read the first book and you liked it, it's more the same in this one, except that the characters are that much better. He does a good job of expanding the world, expanding the conflict, even with some of the weak transitions that he has. It's still great. Overall, I've made no bone about saying in my text review of the Rookie that I think this is one of Scott's best works, and the starter is right up there with the Rookie. I very much enjoyed it. If you like adult fiction, he actually made this a clean version too, which is he uses swear instead of using the F word, and like Scott's got a potty mouth, he drops the F bomb like it's going out of style. Instead of doing that, he uses swear word replacement. So instead of the F word, he says shucking, or something that's supposed to be a swear word for that particular person, but it's not in our language. So he does a lot of swear replacements. And so it's appropriate for ages, I'd say maybe 4. He says 12 and up. I would say probably 14 and up. It's still, the violence is still pretty graphic. Well, it's not as graphic as even the first one, but it's still pretty graphic. So I'd say 14 and up. It's a great read. I enjoyed it. If you like adult, you like football, you'll love the book. But if you like adult science fiction, this is as good as it gets. Scott Sigler, there's links in the bottom. Go check him out. Awesome. Collin, reviews by Collin. Thanks for watching. Questions, concerns, points of interest, hit me up with a comment or an email. I'd love to chat with you. You can find out more about me at collinearl.com. And you can also check out my books on Amazon, Harmonics Rise of the Magician and Harmonics Revelations, both up on ebooks. And The House of Grey is a podcast-only novel available on iTunes. Thanks for watching. Go check out Scott.